everyone, and before we gavel in, just a few changes for today. I got notice this afternoon that Senator Angus McKelvey, chair of GVO, had to do an emergency flight over to Maui. So I've asked my vice chair of AEN to be the chair for AEN. I will be taking over as vice chair of GVO. I'll be handling the GVO responsibility. So, Chair, would you like to gavel in?
Thank you, Chair. We are here for the 1 o'clock hearing of AEN, HHS, and GVO. First of all, housekeeping announcements. Oha makako. Good afternoon, everyone. Mahalo for joining today's joint AEN, HHS, and GVO hearing. It's Wednesday, March 13, 2024. We've convened in room 224 with video conferencing, which includes audio and video for our remote participants. In the unlikely event that the hearing is cut short, the committee will reconvene to discuss an outstanding business on Friday, March 15th, 2024 at 1:01 p.m. during AEN's regular time slot, and a public notice will be posted. Because of our 90-minute time limit for hearing, there will be a 2-minute time limit for all testifiers. We'll have a virtual countdown timer on the Zoom screen. So thanks again. The only measure on the docket is HB 2743. This measure requires each county to develop and maintain a wastewater management plan, authorize the Director of Health to exempt the county from creating wastewater management plan under certain conditions. It also requires the county to identify specific priority areas in which the county's sewer system or other centralized treatments will be expanded and constructed to reduce or eliminate cesspools by the date of 1/1/2050. There are some other measures in there, but let's get going on the public testimony. First up, we have.
Excuse me,
oh,
Chair.
There you go.
I need to introduce
HHS,
myself since
yes.
I'm co-chair. Okay, Chair of Health and Human Services is also present. Thank you. I can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. So with that, we're going to get into the measure for public testimony. Department of Health testifying. We have someone in. Come on up. Please identify yourself for the record and go ahead.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members. John Nagato, Department of Health. The department stands by its written testimony, acknowledging the intent of this measure and offers comments.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Brian Nielsen on Zoom. Oh, in person.
It's just a really good webcam. Brian Nielsen on behalf of DLNR. We stand on our written testimony in support, available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sending your testimony. Next, we have Naheilani Parsons on Zoom. Unless she's stuck in. Do we have her on Zoom?
On Zoom?
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Ramsey Mansour. Ramsey, in support. Next, we have Heather Kimball from County of Hawaii testifying in support. Heather.
Oh, my friend. Aloha.
Good to see you.
Committee chairs and members of the committees. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today in support of HB 2743. First of all, I just want to acknowledge that the development of this legislation was a highly collaborative process, and I think one that we haven't seen to this degree with respect to county and state collaboration around the wastewater issue. So just want to mahalo the state legislators that were involved in these conversations for including us in the counties as part of the solution. I will stand on my written testimony to encourage the body to consider an amendment that would allow the counties to provide certain exemptions based on certain conditions from charging the clean water fee to certain homeowners in our counties. Clearly, we would just generally like the greatest flexibility as far as implementation goes of the program. I know that there are other amendments that are going to be offered by other members for the discussion today, and just want to state for the record that the County of Hawaii has been consulted on these amendments and are supportive. Thank you again for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Council Chair. Next, we have testimony from Mayor Bisson of Maui in opposition. Next, we have Ted Boland in person. Ted.
Thank you, Chair Richards, Chair San Bonaventura, Vice Chair Gabbard. Ted Boland on behalf of the Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition. We are in strong support of this bill. We need to get started on getting the counties to indicate to their citizenry who needs to upgrade and who is going to be connected to a sewer. And this bill would provide information. The bill as written has pages and pages of a rather detailed explanation of what the counties have to do. On reflection, some of the legislators that I've talked with, so I think we'll support an amendment, a proposed SG1, which I've submitted to the committee and would urge the committee to adopt. And that would take a simpler and less complicated approach where we would have Water Resources Research Center do an overlay of the existing cesspool priority tool from the cesspool conversion working group that would tell people, and then from that information, the counties could make plans about where they want to expand their sewers. We're going to get a certain amount of people onto sewer, I hope, because that's a better solution. There will still be some need, I think, for individual wastewater systems, but these amendments would go a long way toward getting the counties on board. They also, the bill also has county authority to charge fees and use revenues for grants and other things to make it affordable for homeowners. I think it's a great bill, and I urge the committee to pass it.
Thank you, Ted. Next, we have Stuart Coleman testifying for why in person. There goes Stuart. Thank you.
Aloha, Chair, Chairs, Vice Chairs, and committee members. My name is Stuart Coleman from Wastewater Alternatives and Innovations. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify today. I'll stand on my written testimony, but just add to, first of all, what Councilmember and Chair Heather Kimball was saying, that this was a really integrated process where they involved nonprofits, county, state folks, and expertise from DOH to work on this bill. And the cesspool impact fee, even though most of us do not like the idea of fees, what this is going to do is going to help homeowners by charging a small fee to the portion of the population that hasn't been charged anything in the past and hadn't paid anything. You start with small fees, they go to a special fund to help those low and moderate income who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it. So it really is helping our homeowners in the long run with this conversion plan. And as for the amendment, following up on what Ted Boland said, I think this is going to be really important because the county master plans, and that's probably what Mayor Bisson was opposed to, could take years and millions of dollars to do. But what we needed when we were in the cesspool conversion working group was an overlay of all the sewer systems with the cesspool map. That doesn't exist now. So that'll help everyone, government agencies and homeowners alike. So I'm available for comments. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Moving on, we have Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Jade McMillan on behalf of the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We've submitted some comments on the measure. We'll go ahead and stand on our written comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, Lindsay Garcia from the Hawaii Realtors in support. Barbara Shimei from testifying for Indivisible Hawaii in support. Melinda Dant from Fairwind Cruises in support. Lynn Miyahira from Public Access to Sunscreen in support. Pamela Tumpap in support. Lauren Blickley in support. Martha Nakajima in support. Is Martha here? I don't see. Linda Fritz opposed. Maria Duncan opposed. Liz Lees opposed. Jane Morrell opposed. Sheila Galian opposed. Lois Crozier in support. Rebecca Villegas in support. Douglas Perrine in support. Jacqueline Ambrose in support. Lisa Bishop in support. Betsy Skolink in support. Kathleen Haggerty in support. Uilani Naipo in support. Sherry Geinger in support. Diane Vandekar in support. Michael Becker in support. Jay Henderson in support. Lois Langham in support. Lisa Gibson in support. Sophia Morgan in support. Ariana Feinberg in support. Gwen Young in support and Kim Falinsky in support. And I understand we have one more person. Oh, there we go. Helene, I was going to call back. Yes. Go ahead, please.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Nahalani Parsons on behalf of the Hawaii State Association of Counties. Just wanted to thank you for hearing the measure and would stand in strong support.
Thank you, and thank you for your testimony. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to testify on this measure? Seeing none, is there any other testifiers on Zoom? Hearing none. Okay, thanks everyone for the testifying on this measure. Are there any questions from? Yes, okay, thank you. Go ahead, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I guess Bolin and Stewart, Stewart, come on. Okay, you both agreed that there should be an extra mapping tool for the UH in order to make this more efficient. Have you folks talked to UH as to how much that extra mapping tool is going to cost?
I think it's still in development. We have talked to UH about it, and I think they're on board with the concept, assuming there's an appropriation. But the details of how much, I think we'll try to get to you. We're going to have a meeting with them tomorrow, and I hope at that point to have some more detail that we can give you.
Okay, so the bill basically refers to the cesspool fee going directly to the county. What you folks are proposing is probably setting aside a portion of that fee for this mapping tool.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's actually, it could be done that way, but I think it's intended that the mapping tool will be done in the next year, year and a half maybe. And
so you want an appropriation in addition to the cesspool fee?
That's right. The cesspool fee could be put in, isn't to be put in until 2025. So yeah, I think they're looking for an appropriation.
You don't know how much?
But I do not know how much.
It should be relatively small. Yeah, and the cesspool fee, this would just allow the state would allow the counties to collect the small cesspool fee that they would put in a fund to help other homeowners with the conversion.
Okay, thank you. And I do have more questions.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Chair.
Okay, not with you folks. I see Heather Kimball there. Aloha, Heather. So I noticed that even though HSAC is in favor of this and the county of Hawaii is in favor of this, I noticed the county of Maui is against this. My questions are regarding what the Tax Foundation has stated, whether or not you think that the amount would be enough.
I think the amount, thank you, first of all, for the question. I think the amount is, it's a drop in the larger bucket of what we're having to pay with respect to wastewater, but it's not insignificant. I think that the support of a program that would allow us to help lower moderate income families do their conversions or connect to wastewater systems is really the opportunity that we're seeking the support through this fund. Other more larger infrastructure initiatives will require other sources of funding. This is not enough to address that. If I may speak to the HSAC is a representation of the county councils across the state. All of the county councils have agreed to support this measure. So I cannot speak to the mayor of Maui's opposition. The councils are supportive, however.
Okay, thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Chair, do you have any?
Yes, I do, actually, for Chad and
Stuart.
again, yeah, just thought of this. So as we're informed that 80,000 plus cesspools, what efforts have been made to reach out to all those folks to let them know the options that are available, and how is that going?
It's a great question, Senator Gabbard. We have done town hall meetings across the state and our organization, and we usually use local experts from the islands. Some of you have participated in those, and And then we have state representatives on each of those. And so we need to do more of that to continue educating people about the issue. And then what's at stake? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, I've had my cesspool for years, no problem, it goes in. And what they don't realize is we're losing our reefs dramatically. In Puako and Maalaea, there's almost completely gone. And then there are all kinds of health issues. We have the highest rates of staph and MRSA in the country.
And what has the response been from the community? Has there been a negative response in terms of, are you kidding me? Like you're
Yeah.
saying, I had this for years. Why are you guys, government again,
Yeah.
intruding on my personal space?
Yeah.
What is?
In those town halls, there is always, at the beginning, you'll get a grumbling sense of, why do we have to do this? It's always worked and I inherited this. And then by the end, we take surveys and we're getting, over 70% approval, understand the issues. Because once you explain the issues, the health, the environmental, and the just safety regulations, people get it. I mean, they do. And so the numbers have really spoken to, they come in hesitant and kind of, maybe not understanding, but by the end, once we explain it, it's an hour-and-a-half presentation, they really do seem to support it.
And I would add, there's another bill that has an appropriation from the state revolving fund for outreach and education. There certainly will be a need for a lot of that as we move forward, especially if we change the dates on when people have to upgrade. But people are going to want to know a lot about how to do this, and we need professionals who have done outreach programs. I know in Long Island, they had a program. It was an essential part of the Suffolk County program, they said, to have outreach and education. It's what made it work. So we would urge that here.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, hang on. You guys better stay there. Yeah, go ahead.
So I know you guys said you guys reached out to the different communities. Have you guys reached out to Hana and Molokai and upcountry Maui?
Yeah, so, I'll take this one if that's all right. We are working, the other big opportunity that we have is there's a lot of federal money. There's more than 2-3 billion that's been allotted for this particular issue for the first time ever. Like they called out wastewater issues in the BIL funding and the IRA. And so we're working in Hana right now to get the community focused on what are the big projects we want to work on revolving around wastewater, and then let's apply for that funding. So we're working in Hana, and then we're working in Keaukaha, and then a number of other communities.
So I know that like Kula and Haiku has been huge in my district.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys reached out to them? Because this came about really when the wastewater, the issue of the aquifer and many of those properties senior. And then, because I haven't gotten anything from you guys in our office to help get the communication out. And that's more my concern is that to get the people that have asked about it, especially if you guys are doing outreach,
Yeah.
And that's great timing because we're planning our next town hall meeting. So we would love to work with you, and it's going to be on Maui. So we'd love to do that.
Yes, if you guys can, I'd like to get them
Perfect.
there, because they have a lot of mana'o they want to share about it. So thank you.
I wanted to add, when I was a Deputy Attorney General, from which I retired 3 years ago, I represented the Department of Health on wastewater issues, and I attended a meeting representing the Department of Health in Kula on these issues. And it was an angry crowd at the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah, and another one in Makawao as well.
Yeah.
So DOH got an earful, and I think that was very helpful. But at that point, we weren't proposing any upgrade requirements. And in fact, the upcountry Maui is a priority 3, so they're not even subject to earlier deadlines that are some of the places might be. But we need more outreach for sure.
So I think that would help, because then, the update from when you met with them back then to now would be huge to kind of like calm the angry crowd down.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We've been joined by 2 senators, Senator Rhodes or Senator Awad. Do you have any questions? Okay, thank you. Any other questions from any of the other committee members?
I get for Department of Health.
Oh, you want Department of Health? Department of Health?
Thank you.
Next turn.
Thank you. So on behalf of the department, the need to implement the provisions of this bill, how much will it cost?
From the Department of
On the
Health,
department, side, the provisions.
initially we did ask for, I think 3 positions, but what I do know that there's some kind of revisions that might change Department of Health's like full involvement.
You have an idea of what the cost would be?
From a personnel standpoint, I think we had like 3 positions, and I think they're around 70 to 80 something million. So,
249,000 per your
Okay.
written testimony, 89,500 for FTE, engineer 5, 82,700 for FTE SR 24, and 76,800 for SR 24. Is that
thank you.
correct?
Correct.
Close to $500,000. Okay, thank you.
Quarter, 249.
Oh, that's added into the 250. Okay, I thought you had the 250 plus the other 3. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yeah, actually, Ted, I was going to have you come up to, I was going to follow up.
May I answer the last
Yeah,
question?
please go ahead.
There was in the bill, as drafted, the HG2 had 249,000. You are correct. I think at this point, the direction that the bill is likely to go, if they adopt the Senate draft that I propose, is to take out those 3 positions and the department funding for those positions, because we have shifted a lot of the responsibility under this Senate draft to the counties, and to the U.S., not to the counties, to the UH, to do the kind of study work that was going to be done by the counties. And DOH was going to oversee that, and they're going to need extra personnel. I think, I won't speak for DOH because I can't, but I think at this point, the thinking is that the DOH doesn't have to do much on this year. And so the funding for those positions doesn't have to go forward this year. Again, I'm not speaking for DOH, but I think that's where it's going to go.
Okay, thank you. And then just a quick follow-up on this. I think something Senator DeCoy pointed out, the outreach is critical. And Ted, we've been working on this when I came up from county. I was working
Yes.
on this there. Again, that outreach is going to be critically important to go forward. And on the Big Island, we have Council Chair Kimball there. We have estimated 50,000 of the some 80,000 on the Big Island. This is the first crack at trying to seek the funding to get this going. So I do appreciate that going forward, but I would encourage more outreach and let us know as well,
Sure.
so we can participate in that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Any other questions or comments before we move on? Hearing none, thanks, Ted. For going into decision-making, this has been decided, and I want to confer with chairs, but we're on deferred decision-making until Monday, March 18th. There's some amendments have been brought forth, so we're going to work on that and make the decision, like I said, on Monday, March 18th at 1 p.m. for AEN. I will defer to Chair for GVO. Chair.
For GVO, we'll do the, we'll follow the lead of the AEN chair and defer our time decision-making until Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 at 3:01 p.m. in room 225 for GVO.
Thank you. And then for HHS, Chair?
We don't have a date, so
We
we're
don't
going
have
to
a date.
defer this indefinitely unless you give me some time. Give me a date. I have to say it. At what time? What o'clock? Okay, for HHS, we are going to defer decision-making to room 225 at 1 p.m. on March 18th. It's gonna be after them. Is it after them? No, it can't be after. It's gonna be after them. Their lead. Sorry.
That's all
We're
right.
gonna amend
Work
the
out the
time.
detail.
Okay, Wednesday, the 20th at 1 p.m. At 1:01 p.m. Right down at room 225.
Okay,
Okay.
we're good. Thank you, everyone. We stand adjourned.
Thank you, Tim.
The 101 calendar of HHS, PSM, and AEN joint, calling on HB 1839 relating to environment. First up, we have Department of Health and support.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members. My name is Mary Ann Rossio from the Department of Health. The department stands on its written testimony and support, and we're here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up, we have Lahaina Strong in support. Next up, we have Amy Simmons, Democratic Party of Hawaii in support, Pamela Tumpap in support, Joe DiNardo in support, Tamara Paulton in support, Riley Bond in support, Cedar Wilson in support, Sherry Pollock in support, Chair Alice Lee in support, Isis Osborne in support, Jackie Keith in support. Anybody else wishing to testify on HB 1839? Members, any questions? Okay,
Question,
yes,
Department of Health.
Senator Coit.
Thank you. So in the appropriation of this bill, it's unspecified as to what it would cost to conduct the long-term monitoring of air and water quality in communities impacted by the Maui wildfire, as well as to support the research efforts to better understand the environmental concerns linked to urban fires. To what extent can your current staff conduct the air and water quality testing?
So currently, we've deployed over 50 sensors on Maui in response to this. We've also deployed monitors that are called EBAMs in Lahaina as well. In Kula, we had 30 additional monitors. So we've added a significant amount of monitors in response to this. And with climate change and more wildfires, it's added and overextended our staff. We really need an additional person to help us with this response.
Excuse me, sorry. Whoever has that, can you walk outside with it, please?
So yeah, we've had to put aside our regulatory duties and
I'm sorry. Could everyone please just silence their cell phones? It's rude to our testifiers, and so please proceed.
Sorry. Yeah, we've had to put aside our regular duties, and our regulatory deadlines are in jeopardy because we have to drop everything basically and respond to these.
So the data that you guys getting back on the quality of it?
Yes.
How often does that information go out to the residents in those areas?
So some of our monitors are near real time. So you can look on EPA's fire and smoke map at any time, and you'll have near real time data on that. And then for sampling data where we have to send it to a laboratory, that is a weekly report that is posted.
So when I attended a meeting upcountry, there are those that don't even know how to go online. And I think that was the trouble we had when we had the community meeting, that for those that don't know how to go online and use the website, how are they supposed to get access to the quality testing of air and water quality?
Yeah, I guess with the community meetings, we can work on providing more outreach and helping educate people with how to access data.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any other questions, committee members? Stick around. So the governor did a press release adding on more additional sensors over in Maui. You're aware of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when you testified to Senator DeCoit's questions, was that based upon the new sensors or I don't know whether or not that's a new press release of old sensors? Was it based upon also, did it include those new sensors?
We've had several press releases and we have continued to add more sensors. So right now we have close to 50 sensors in Lahaina area. And then we have EBAMs, which are near regulatory monitors in 6 locations. And we also have 4 locations of air sampling. So that is the current amount of monitors we have.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I know that this bill is based upon the House's committee's conclusions based upon their hearings they held. But my question is, because it's a fiscally responsible question. Since you already have like 50 sensors and this bill refers to a blank appropriation, Do you folks expect more sensors? And if so, what amount of money should be put in the blanket appropriation? Because it's certainly not in your testimony.
I guess there's three areas. One is, we are requesting an additional EHS to help manage all of these equipment. That cost would range from 61,000 to 87,000 per year. There could be right now for Oluwalu, which is the temporary disposal site. If it was determined by the legislature that additional reassurance for that community was needed, we would be able to put in additional EBAMs, which are 20,000 per unit.
So how many units?
We would say, one north, one south. So 2 units.
40,000 then,
Yeah.
in
And then,
addition to the 60,000 you just said.
yes, 61 to 87,000 would be the range of a EHS. And then lastly, we do have a contract right now with, to do air sampling for a year. So that ends in February 28th. And that air sampling is the one that's sent to the laboratory for analysis and detects asbestos and heavy metals. If the Army Corps' debris removal work lasts for more than a year, and again, it's all dependent on their schedule, they could finish earlier than a year. If it lasts for more than a year, we would have to extend that contract. So that's unknown at this time.
So the amount of money remains blank then? I mean, at least for page 2, asking for additional general revenues monies for long-term monitoring of air quality in communities. Because from what you've given me, it's
Yes.
61 to 78,000. To additional monitors of 20,000, that's another 40,000, but you said there's an unknown amount.
Yes.
Okay, so right
You're
now,
asking us to predict the future, and we don't know if the Army Corps peanut would go.
I understand, but we cannot pass a blank bill.
Yes, we
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I'm asking you, what monies do you want us to put into the blank on page 2?
I understand.
So right now, you don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could predict that it will extend. And if it extends for the additional 4 months, March, April, May, and June, it could cost up to $1.3 million for that air sampling.
So 1.3 million in addition to the 61 to 78,000 you stated.
61 to 87,000, that range.
87,000, and then an additional 40,000 for the 2 air monitors.
That's what it could cost, yes.
Okay,
Again, if the Army Corps ends earlier, we wouldn't see a need for additional air sampling, so.
so the other question is, your testimony only refers to, and it doesn't even have a money, it still remains blank, for a environmental health specialist 4 position.
Yeah. That was the.
How much should we allocate for that? I mean, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 blanks on page 2, and no monies to fill in those blanks for.
I understand. That environmental health specialist was the 61 to 87,000 range. That's for the environmental health specialist.
4,
Yes.
okay. And for Kula, that's the 40,000.
That would be for Oluwalu.
Oluwalu, but
Yeah.
that's not Kula.
For Kula, the Army Corps finished their debris removal. So that work is done. All the heavy equipment and moving the debris there is done.
So we remove that.
Yes,
Okay, so we should change that to Oluwalu instead of Kula.
yes,
And that is 2 monitors at 20,000 each.
yes.
And the last blank for expanding Lahaina community air sampling efforts, right now it remains blank, but could be 1.3 million.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair.
There may be more questions.
Chair.
Okay.
Okay,
Senator DeCoy,
So
yes.
I'm not happy with moving Kula out of there. You know,
We understand.
so you guys also understand that they're having to deal with the same problem. So why would you guys move the air sampling out of there?
We're not moving it. Go ahead.
Yeah, we still have 8 sensors in Kula, which we have not removed. So we're leaving it there.
Is that adequate?
as long as it's needed. So far, the data has indicated, no issues. If the data indicates, we would let the data guide us. If there are, any issues, then we would increase air sampling. But yeah, we did not remove all of the monitors from Kula.
Because you had previously 30.
Yes, yes.
So
So we
you're gonna-
left them at schools, and if a resident wanted to keep it, we would leave them.
So you're gonna only have 8 now from the 30.
We have 8 now, correct?
They were at the maximum when the cleanup was going on. When the cleanup was finished, the analysis was done, and it showed very low or no detect of the things that were going on. So this is post cleanup, the long-term monitoring as mentioned in the bill.
So help me understand, because you said earlier your EBAM is near regulatory. So either they're regulatory or they're not regulatory. So either you're pregnant or you're not. So what is near regulatory means to me?
They don't meet all of the, check boxes for regulatory, but the data that they do give is very accurate. It's very, very close to regulatory, but it doesn't meet all the check boxes for.
So just close, but still not regulatory.
Yes.
And I think the importance, Senator McCoy, is that the sensors are inexpensive, easy to put out, spread around the schools and neighborhoods and such. The PBAMs are more expensive. It requires maintenance, operation with staff and that kind of thing. So the EBAMs provide a greater sensitivity, but they're more costly, and you can't put 20 of them around. The sensors are less sensitive, but they're easy to spread around, and that's what we have at Kula now.
And they can provide wider geographical coverage.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, do I need to recess for decision making? I have quorum. Okay, for decision making, Chair's recommendation is to pass HB number 1839 with amendments. We are going to accept Department of Health's proposed amendment of changing the number Roman numeral 1 to Roman numeral 4 on page 2, line 17. And her testimony on page 2, line 18, changing the word Kula to Oluwalu. And we're also going to put in the committee report the numbers that was testified to by Department of Health, that Department of Health is expecting 61,000 to 78,000 for the 1 FTE position, and two sensors for Oluwalu of $20,000 each, and 1.3 million for expanding Lahaina community air sampling efforts. Okay, any comments, questions, concerns? Pass with amendments. Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote. Chair votes aye.
Okay, recommendation of the chair is to pass HB 1839, House Draft 2 with the Senate draft. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Keokolole.
Aye.
Senator Shimabukuro.
Aye.
Senator Alwa. It's excused. Recommendation is adopted, Chair.
Same recommendation for AEN. Any discussion? Chair votes aye. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair. Passing 1839 with amendments, Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator DeCoit?
Aye.
Senator Rhodes?
Aye.
Senator Alwa? Chair, you have 5 in favor. Motion is adopted.
Thank you, members.
For PSM, same recommendation to pass this measure out with amendments. Any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1839 HE2 with amendments. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga. Excuse. Senator Rhodes. Aye. Senator Wah. Aye. Mr. Chair, recommendation is adopted.
Okay, so we are adjourned for the 101 calendar, 102 calendar.
Adjourn.
Oh, now you gotta call back up again since you do that. Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, hello, Mike Ako, and welcome to the 102 agenda of the joint AEN and HHS hearing. We have 6 measures on the agenda. We'll start off with HB 1691, HD1. Requires newly installed or modified individual wastewater systems that are near the shoreline or likely to pollute groundwater to include denitrification capacity. First up is Environmental Health Administration, DOH.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members. John Nagato, Department of Health. The department stands by its written testimony, acknowledging the intent of this measure and offers comments. We are able to answer questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Nielsen, DLNR.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Brian Nielsen on behalf of DLNR. We stand on our written testimony in support, available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Darren Lerner from UH. In support, Nailani Parsons from Hawaii State Association of Counties. On Zoom.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Thank you. Heather Kimball from Hawaii County Council.
Aloha, chairs. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this measure. I will stand by my written testimony with the addition of the comment that based on some previous council hearing information and testimony, there has been some concern about the enforceability with regard to the condition of the substrate being 5,000 years or less. And so working with Mr. Boland, who I think hopefully is there, as well as Greg Asner from Arizona State University, we are trying to come up with some additional language, some of which is included in my testimony, but would appreciate the opportunity either at the next hearing of this measure, or if you were able to defer it for a day or two, so we could provide you with some better language that we think will be more easy to enforce from the DOH side, and will address some of the concerns that were submitted with previous testimony. But encourage you to please keep this measure moving. It is something we feel is quite important in terms of protecting some of our nearshore areas and our drinking water in the county of Hawaii. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Next is Ted Boland with High Rock.
Thank you, Chair Gabbard, Chair San Buenaventura, Vice Chairs. Ted Boland on behalf of the Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition, in strong support of this measure. As the previous speaker indicated, there's several ways to measure this. What we have is a problem of nitrogen waste in our wastewater that fertilizes algae on the reef and kills coral. So there are places in the state, for example, where there's lava rock, where there's a lot of runoff from wastewater systems. And we're talking here not so much about cesspools as about septic systems, because they have leach fields and the nitrogen is not completely treated there, so it runs off and it can kill the reefs. We need to do something to protect our reefs. This bill is a step in the right direction. There are a number of ways to measure the impacts that come from septic systems, and we're working with the Department of Health and others to figure out the best language of how to say that, to alleviate concerns about enforceability and keep it simple. So I hope to have, as the last speaker said, I hope to have some answers with better language in the next couple of days. If not, maybe in the next committee, but we'll move this if we can. Available for questions. Strong support for the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Next is Stuart Coleman with VI.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. My name is Stuart Coleman from VI, and I will stand on my testimony and strong support of this measure. And as the previous testifier said, we are working with Dr. Greg Asner and his crew and others at UH to measure the transport time, because that's what this is about, from of the wastewater nutrients in the groundwater. And so one measure would be there's flow map data that says if it takes less than a year, which seems like very slow, but in geologic time is very fast, then it's going to still have all those nutrients that are killing the reefs. And so we're, like we said, we're finalizing the kind of the best ways to measure that. But just the denitrification, I think all of us agree that that's going to be very important for the preservation of our reefs. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. Lindsay Garcia from Hawaii Realtors has comments. Lauren Blickley with Surfrider Foundation in support. Following individuals are all in support: Douglas Perrine, Hillary Smith, Jacqueline Ambrose, Mark Hickson, Addison Bluson, Betsy Skolnick, Eva Marjarova, Wilani Naipo, Ariana Feinberg, Sophia Morgan, Eileen Hilton, Leonard Rossoff, and Wen Young. Anyone else wishing to testify on HB 1691? Members, any questions? Okay, let's move on to the next measure. HB 1759, HD1 requires cesspools attached to or used by housing or lodging that provides transit accommodations to be upgraded, converted, or connected before January 1st, 2035, priority level 1 cesspools, and before January 1st, 2040 for priority level 2 cesspools. First up, Department of Health.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members. John Nagato, Department of Health. The department stands by its written testimony in support of this measure. Available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Nielsen. DLNR.
Aloha, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Brian Nielsen, on behalf of DLNR, we stand on our written testimony in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Leah Laramie from the Climate Commission. In support. Darren Lerner from UH in support. Ted Boland from High Rock.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chairs, members of the committees. Ted Boland on behalf of the Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition in strong support of this measure. We need to get going on upgrading of cesspools. We have a law that says they all must be, 83,000 of them must be upgraded by 2050. If we don't get started on some of them, we're never going to make that deadline. And this is low-hanging fruit in the sense that you've got homes that are transient accommodations. They're presumably making some money off of their business, and they have varying flow with heavy use at times that puts stress on the system. So I think they are a good place to start with some upgrades. I personally would like to see all the priority 1 cesspools upgraded by 2035 and all the priority 2s by 2040 so that we get a good start on the large project that we've got to do by 2050. That's in another bill. This bill is a first step along the way for the transient accommodations alone, and I'm in strong support of it. Thank you very much. Available for questions.
Thank you, Ted. Stuart Coleman, bye.
Good afternoon, chairs, and I would say the same. I'll stand on my written testimony, but this,
State your name again,
sorry, Stuart Coleman from PI, and we agreed that like those who are, taking up rental space from homeowners or potential renters that are local and doing transient accommodations would be a great place to start. And the only amendment that we would add is doing slightly earlier deadlines for them, and that because that would be a great pilot project for the next bill to show that we can do this and start with them that that have the money to do so.
Thank you. Lindsay Garcia from the Hawaii Realtors has comments, and the following are all in support: Douglas Perrine, Hillary Smith, Jacqueline Ambrose, Mark Hickson, Addison Bulusan, Betsy Skolnick, Wilani Naipo, Ariana Feinberg, Ramsey Mansour, and Sophia Morgan. Anyone else wishing to testify on HB 1759? Members, any questions?
Sure, I have. Ted?
Senator Richards.
Thank you. And Stuart, maybe you might be able to clean up on this. You talked about the priority cesspools 1, 2, 3, 4. Do we have any idea? I mean, we don't even know how many cesspools we really have, but do we have any idea what the breakdown of that is? Is it 25-25 or?
No, I can give you that. Thank you for
Okay.
the question, Senator. There are three priorities: 1, 2, and 3. Priority 1 is the ones that have the most impact on the environment. There are 13,000, I think 800 of those.
Statewide?
Statewide,
Okay.
round number. And in category priority 2, there's 12,700, something like that. So they could together constitute about 30% of the total of 83,000. And the rest are priority 3, and they are currently required to be upgraded by 2050, and nothing in these bills would change that.
Okay, and then the priority 4 is unknown, is that, I mean, just
Yeah,
reading?
yeah, I wasn't even aware that we had a priority 4, because when we were on the cesspool conversion working group, which did the report at the end of 2022, it just really had those. I think they were part of priority 3 as opposed to a separate priority.
Okay, so 1/3 is in 1 and 2, and the other 2/3 is in 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Including, as you're saying, including ones where we don't know enough information to put them anywhere, so they're in priority 3.
Yeah, so that priority 4 was after we did the new study, was
And then you
transferred.
travel back,
Yeah.
okay, which makes sense. And I don't think anybody, well, we've been talking about this for years, but I don't think anybody disagrees with the direction. It's always been how we're going to fund it.
Yes.
That's always been the big question, so thank you, Chair.
It was.
Okay,
I have a question.
question?
Department of Health, is there a Department of Health here for this one? Okay, so whenever you move up a deadline, notice needs to be sent out. Who is, and I don't see in the bill, who's gonna be responsible to let the transient accommodation people know that we've moved up the deadline for them?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Sorry.
And the other question is enforcement. I think they testified that it's up to you folks to enforce. Is it up to you folks to enforce? I mean, how are we gonna enforce this?
That's a good question. I don't think I have that answer either.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, moving on. HB 1892 HD2, Part 2, amends the deadlines for required upgrades, conversions, or connections for certain priority level 1 and priority level 2 cesspools. Part 3 authorizes and appropriates funds to DOH to retain qualified consultants as necessary to identify necessary public outreach and education resources and tools, and develop a comprehensive public outreach strategy and website to educate homeowners and wastewater industry professionals about information and resources regarding the state's cesspool upgrade, conversion, and connection requirements and deadlines. And Part 4 appropriates funds and establishes positions for the implementation of the cesspool compliance pilot grant project. First up on 1892, Department of Health.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, committee members, John Nagato, Department of Health, Wastewater Branch. The department stands by its written testimony acknowledging the intent of this bill and offering comments. Available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Department of Hawaiian Homelands.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. The department stands on its written testimony in support of this measure, and I'm available for questions. Oriana Leao with DHHL.
Thank you, Oriana. Brian Nielsen, DLNR.
Aloha again, Brian Nielsen. On behalf of DLNR, we stand on our written testimony in support.
Darren Lerner, UH, in support. Lee Laramie from the Climate Commission, in support. Gwen Lau from Hawaii Green Infrastructure Authority, in support. Stuart Coleman from VI.
Aloha chairs, vice chairs, and committee members. My name is Stuart Coleman from Wastewater Alternatives and Innovations, and we stand in strong support of this bill. This bill also includes the top recommendations of the cesspool conversion working group, because it was partly written by one of the members. And it's super important that, again, we will never be able to achieve the mandate under Act 125 unless we have earlier deadlines for the most polluting cesspools. And as Ted mentioned, that's only 30%. And so it's definitely doable in 11 years. And is going to be essential for our reefs. The second point, extending support for under Act 153 that created the $20,000 grant, that was extremely successful in that the public really responded, and we, all the funding, the 5 million was spent within a week. It was accounted for. So I think there's expectation in the public's mind that this will continue because there was so much demand for it. And I know that, funding this session is really tight, but I think for 5 million and getting this process going is going to be essential. And the final thing is, along with what I've added before, and sorry, I'm the son of a preacher man, so I will continue preaching this. There's a lot of federal funding available, billions of dollars. And so if we, along with outreach and education, I would say we really need to focus on applying for those funds. Because we're getting signals from the EPA that the money's there. Hawaii fits perfectly in their demographic, especially with the Justice 40 initiative, and it's ours for the taking, but we just need to have specialists do that. So along with outreach and education, seeking those federal funds. Mahalo.
Thank you. Ted Boland? Rob?
Thank you, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. Ted Boland on behalf of the Hawaii Reef and Ocean Coalition. This is a very important bill. Among all these cesspool bills, this is a big one because, as the previous speaker indicated, we really have to get started on upgrading some of the cesspools. And the priority one cesspools are the ones that are doing the most damage to the waters. We need to get started on those. And 2035 is an appropriate date. And 2040 for the priority twos. We need to do those so that we can get to the 2050 deadline with the 83,000 that are supposed to be upgraded by then. And if we can get the ones and twos done earlier, that will do a huge amount for public health and for the quality of the reefs by eliminating the nitrogen pollution that I talked about that comes from cesspools. So that's a big part of this bill, very important. In addition, we spoke before about outreach and how important outreach and education will be for the success of the program. The public's out there wondering what the heck's going on. I hear these things about having to upgrade my cesspool. Well, this is the outreach and education is a key component so the public knows what's going on. And the counties and the public can work together to try to have, especially for low-income people, have grants and loans, because I agree with Senator Richards, the money has always been the thing, and we have to help people to accommodate the costs of these upgrades. So I strongly urge the passage of this bill, which we really need to move the cesspool upgrade effort forward. It's a big problem for the state. We've got deficient infrastructure, and we've got to start tackling that now. So that's the reason for this bill. I strongly urge its support. I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Lauren Blickley from Surfrider Foundation in support. Barbara Bell from Puako for Reefs in support. Melinda Dont from Fairwind Cruises in support. Barbara Shimei from Indivisible Hawaii in support. Lindsay Garcia from the Hawaii Realtors has comments. Lynn Miyahira from Public Access to Sunscreens in support. And the following individuals are all in support: Hillary Smith, Jacqueline Ambrose, Mark Hickson, Betsy Skolnick, Addison Bulasan, Wilani Naipo, Kathleen Haggerty, Ramsey Mansour, Lavorne Sparks, David Nagamine, Michael Becker, Sherry Ginger, Jay Henderson, Lois Langham, Lisa Gibson, Sophia Morgan, Ariana Feinberg, Wen Young, Kim. Anyone else wishing to testify on HB 1892? Members, any questions? Yes, Senator DeCoy.
So just one question. How would you guys allocate the appropriations to implement the specific provisions of the bill?
Are we talking about the grant program or the outreach?
The grant program.
I am involved with the grant program that we ran last year, and we're still actually running it. Just to clarify, the money is spoken for, but it's not all dispersed. That's what we're working through now, and that's why I asked for positions, because it's a big workload. So going back to your question, we're kind of following I think about $20,000 per person, and that's how we were kind of following, because we don't want to go more and upset the people in the past.
So what is the qualifications on who gets selected for the disbursements of the appropriations? aside from being, number one on the list and
So
of high
you got to be on the
priority?
priority 1 and 2, and then you have to have, I think the previous one was 140% of average or median household income, AMI or MHI, I forget which one it was, but we've been using their adjusted gross income from their tax record as a household. So we have a chart. If it's going to mimic how we're doing it now, we have a chart on our website that kind of breaks down, depending on how many people you have in your household, you can average it out.
So you're doing them on adjusted gross income?
Yeah, we're requesting the adjusted gross income, and then if you're filing jointly or you have a family, right? If your family is larger, in a sense, it gets averaged out.
So when you did the outreach,
Oh no, so that's just for that's just for the CESPO grant program, the pilot.
yeah, but when you did the outreach for them to understand how you're gonna do the appropriation,
There was no outreach component. I mean,
So-
our branch chief, and luckily we had somebody at the time, he moved to a different branch, but he knew IT, he helped with the website. So he and my branch chief and a couple other people, they basically made a web page, and they just did what they needed to do, but it
so
wasn't.
if nobody knew about the web page, then they wouldn't know how to submit their adjusted gross income. Is that what you're telling me?
I think they, no, I mean, I think they tried to roll it out previous to the date that they were going to, so we kind of let everybody know. I forget if I don't know if they did emails, mailers, use people in their counties.
So I never know, so I wouldn't know how to roll them out to my district.
Right.
Number one, so I want to know, like, how did you guys do it? Because
Yeah.
now you left them out of the whole pocket.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I was a staffer at the time. I'm still a staffer, but
So who was the one before you?
my boss,
Who's that?
Sina Pruder.
Yeah, thank you.
Question.
Stick around.
Sorry.
Yes.
So, Mr. Coleman mentioned the tons of federal money that are available. Are you guys on top of this or what? And if not, what do you need to make sure that we tap into that? Nothing's left on the table in terms of that federal money.
As far as the wastewater branch, we only manage the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, and that has access to BIL money, bipartisan infrastructure law money. That's a separate appropriation on top of the base federal capitalization grant that we normally get for that program. So I can only speak to that BIL money. Well, there are big portions of federal funds, but we don't have that in the branch that goes out looking for federal funds.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Coleman, did you want to elaborate on that, on where and how?
Yes, currently, according to Sina Pruder, the former head of the wastewater branch, they were only had like enough staff to get the funds that goes equally out to each state. And they were the other competitive ones that you have to apply for. From what she told me, they weren't able to go after. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, not with you. Sorry, Department of Health again. Okay, so you talked about, are you folks also responsible for the Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund?
That is the official name. I think back in the day, that's what they called the revolving fund, and then
So what is it now?
both, because in the CFR and the HRS, I think our HRS still use the old name, so we got to kind of use both. Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund, just like the drinking water one, but colloquially, and then I think the most recent CFRs started to use Clean Water SRF. It's easier.
Okay, but it's the same fund.
It's the same.
It isn't two different funds.
Not two different funds. It's the same fund. It's just they're both official and they're both used.
Okay, so I'm back to filling in blanks.
Correct.
On page 7, it refers to a blank amount coming out of the revolving fund, and this is the one for public outreach, which you just testified to no one is doing. So how much money should we put in there on page 7? Because you guys didn't testify as to that, so that you guys can do the public outreach.
I didn't put in amount there because I kind of concentrated on the positions.
Yeah, the
I don't have
positions.
I wouldn't have, a reasonable number off off the top of my head, because the only experience, like I said, so I have some experience with our recent loan program, pilot program. And then before, so one of the initiatives my former boss tried to put us on was she hooked us up with the Environmental Finance Center to start an outreach just on our own, because they were offering free services. So 3 of us volunteered, but it's all, we're trying to squeeze that in. So we don't know what it would cost, like financially. Just
Do you know how much is in the fund now?
In the Water Pollution Control Revolving Fund?
Yes.
It's close to, I mean, this is, so when I say all, it's revolving, it's federal cap
I
coming in.
understand. As of the last
I
time
think
you
it's
checked.
close to like $1 billion.
$1 billion?
Yeah, but it's not just sitting in a coffer. It's out, on loan to the different agencies. That's how they build stuff. We loan out.
So
It's like 800 something. I can't remember.
that's a heck of a lot of money. Okay?
Yeah, but like I said, it's
And
not
there's a lot of
sitting.
need.
It's not like sitting there. It's like it's loaned out to the counties.
So how much? So yeah, how much is deployed and how much is accessible? Because
Yeah,
we're
so
gonna move
we
up
actually
deadlines. We're gonna need a lot of public
no.
outreach.
So I don't know the number, but we're forced by the federal regulations to keep that balance down. The cash on hand
Yeah.
is not that high.
So how much is the cash on hand?
I don't know the number off the top of my head. I haven't been in the program for a year.
Okay.
I can get you
When are you
that
gonna?
tomorrow.
Okay, can you provide to the chairs, because like I said, we gotta fill in the blank. And we can't, the bill can't pass, and from testimony, from questions, you guys really need to do a lot of public outreach for this.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask?
Oh, go.
Yeah, my turn. There was no public outreach done. How on the grant program? Well,
I wouldn't say no.
Volunteers.
I wasn't aware of. She was doing a lot, and I was
I guess let me ask a specific
Sure.
question then. How long did it take to exhaust the grant programs funding with qualified commitments?
So there's the quick answer was like everybody's saying in like a matter of days. I think it's 3 to 6 days. Like people were
For the
lined-
5 million.
Yeah, so they submitted. So what happened was they all submit their applications, and so that, as far as count, because if we did the math, I think it was 250 applicants, but we kind of went to 200 with a waiting list because we had to go through all the tax forms.
Yeah.
And when I say we, that was Sina, because sensitive information, right? She just wanted to pass it out. So she was taking care of all that. So she was going through it, making sure that they met that 140. And then when they're eligible, then she would write letters out to them to tell them that they're eligible. So, but going back to your first question, we got like the 200, 250 and more within days.
Because they were already just following.
Yeah, people were like,
They already knew.
yeah,
for whatever
there were
reason.
people that lined up outside our office, and all the offices. So that was another thing that.
And that's out of a universe of what, 26,000? Priority 1 and 2
Correct.
is like
Correct.
something like 25,000 people.
Correct. I don't know how many we took because we had to stop at some point. But yeah.
Without public outreach, guys. So
Yeah.
3 days, yeah.
Yeah,
days.
and we tried to get all the counties. So like the instructions allowed each island to go to their office.
So, so your outreach is really going to be a function of how much we can afford to give you.
Correct.
Because if we give you another 5 million, I mean,
gonna
I don't
be
know why
gone
we would
even
need to
without.
do more education. You still got a wait list, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I understood this outreach. I think what Senator Coy was talking about is important for the program itself, but I think I thought this outreach was for just cesspool conversions, just to educate people on how to go about it. Because even though they sign up and they're priority 1, priority 2 eligible, there's a lot of legwork that we're still doing with them to get a contractor, to get an engineer, to do the work,
Right.
not get delayed, SMA, all kind of stuff there. So
Well, I don't mean to speak for Senator DeCoit, but I know for a fact there were Molokai residents
yeah,
who did not know this was a program
right,
before it was exhausted.
right.
And it
Yeah.
is easy to see why, because it was exhausted in 96 hours.
Yeah, and right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, one more question. Ted. And we can, actually, if other people are away on this, okay, we talked about moving up the deadline for priority 1 and 2, and this has been kind of the poster child for me, my district, Poolco. Cesspools, we know are a problem there, but so are septic systems. So if we're going to upgrade the septic system, we don't really have a solution here. We move this bill forward. This really doesn't address the problem. And I don't want to punish someone that gets stuck because we don't have a way forward. What's your thoughts on that?
Two thoughts. One is, I know there were discussions in Puaco about having to sewer. I don't know what the status is of that, but maybe that's the solution, where you get all the septic and cesspools onto a sewer in a limited area that has a lot of reefs that are suffering a lot of damage. One possible answer. The other answer I would have would be related to the other bill, 1691, for septic systems would need to meet some kind of standard, and there is a national standard for denitrification. And if new cesspools and modified cesspools under that bill were, septic systems were installed, then they would have to meet that denitrification standard. But I gather you have another concern, which is existing septic systems which are also leaking.
Correct.
That's another important issue that hasn't been addressed yet.
Okay, because again, long conversations about this. We've talked about sewage treatment for that community is the logical solution, but again, it comes back to funding.
Yes.
My concern is, as we collectively move forward and get those solutions, it's going to take time.
Yes.
But I don't want to get our people stuck in the process because we have no solution for them. So,
Right.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and let me just say, the first bill that came up on the 1 o'clock agenda, 2743, was very much addressed to getting the counties on board so that they would be able to let people know where they stand with sewers, decentralized sewers, and other options.
And at the county level, I mean, we were working on this for years.
I know,
so,
yeah.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. We have made progress in Puaco where they're replacing the main water line. And so using that existing water line to slipstream in small diameter pipes to hook up the whole area and hopefully go to the Mount Alani Resorts Treatment Center. So there's been a lot of progress made. It really is the most economical and the most environmental solution that we have right now, because it wouldn't be that expensive to do these small diameter pipes through the existing system and go to an existing treatment plant.
I agree with that, except when you said we hopefully hope, we can't plan on it.
Yes.
So, and I hear you, but we have to come up with a solution. What I just don't want to do is get our citizens stuck in the process, because it makes good sense, but then we hang them out to dry. So, okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mahalo.
All right, moving on to the next measure, HB 1989 HD2 authorizes and decriminalizes the sale of raw milk products, and raw milk dairy products directly from producers to consumers for human consumption, subject to certain restrictions. Authorizes the direct sale of raw goat milk for pet consumption, and establishes labeling requirements. First up is Department of Ag.
Thank you, chairs, vice chair, members. Dexter Kishida, Hawaii Department of Agriculture. I could start off this bill in respectfully opposing both the content, but also we have issue with even the structure of where it's suggested to be placed. So it is in our testimony, but we really also defer to the Department of Health on the science on the basis of the opposition. Thank you.
DOH, Food Safety Branch.
Good afternoon, Chair San Buenaventura, Chair Gabbard, members of the Committee on Agriculture and Environment and Health and Human Services. My name is Peter Oshiro. I'm the Program Manager for the Department of Health's Food Safety Branch. The department respectfully opposes this measure. The department urges the legislature to weigh the potential health risks by allowing raw milk to be sold. Based on CDC data, literature, and state and local reports, FDA compiled a list of outbreaks that occurred from 1998 to 2018 in the United States. During this period, there are at least 202 outbreaks due to the consumption of raw milk and raw milk products. These outbreaks caused 2,645 illnesses, 269 hospitalizations, 3 deaths, 6 stillbirths, and 2 miscarriages. The number of outbreaks and cases were likely higher than the above estimates due to underreporting. If this measure is passed, the public could be exposed to undue risk of serious illness or death by possible exposure to pathogenic organisms. Our keiki kupuna and immunocompromised face even greater risk than the general public, as they will face much greater difficulty fighting off any pathogens ingested and will have a much higher mortality rate for almost all pathogens associated with raw dairy products. The FDA and the CDC have published many science-based articles debunking every statement in Section 1 of this measure and is included in this testimony. According to the CDC's most recent study, states and counties where raw milk was legally sold had 3.2 times more outbreaks than areas where the sale of raw milk was illegal. Areas where raw milk was allowed to be sold to retail stores had 3.6 times more outbreaks than areas where sale was allowed only on farms. The study shows that laws that increase the availability of raw milk are directly associated with more illnesses and outbreaks. In addition, the CDC reported that consuming unpasteurized milk is 150 times more likely to cause foodborne illness, and 13 times. Thanks for the opportunity to testify.
Next is Brian Miyamoto, Hawaii Farm Bureau.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. I'm Brian Miyamoto here on behalf of the Hawaii Farm Bureau. You have a written testimony. We do stand on a written testimony respectfully opposing this measure. Thank you.
Pete Kennedy from Weston A. Price Foundation on Zoom.
Like to thank the chair, the vice chair, and members of the committee for allowing me to testify. I work on raw milk.
Please state your name, please.
Oh yeah, my name is Pete Kennedy. I work on raw milk issues for the Weston Price Foundation, international nonprofit who's the leading raw milk advocacy group in the nation. I'd like to point out several things. Raw milk distribution is legal in 46 states right now. Raw milk consumption is legal in all 50. There's no crime in Hawaii and any other state for possession of raw milk. So the question is, people have a legal right to consume raw milk. How are they able to exercise that right? It's legal to purchase alcohol and cigarettes, not raw milk. Children today eat food laced with aspartame, MSG, high fructose corn syrup. There's an epidemic of child disease going around. And with raw milk, what we've seen is the demand has gone up tremendously the last 2 years. And while that has happened, the number of illnesses has either stayed flat or actually gone down in some years. The last year on record, 2020, the number of illnesses went down in this country. CDC and FDA are biased against raw milk. There's no doubt about that. Some of the data they come up with brings to mind the adage that there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. When you look at the straight data, the number of people getting sick from raw milk is either remaining flat or going down as demand is going up. One other issue is food security. Hawaii, from what I understand, only has one dairy, grade A dairy.
Pete, I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you very much for your testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tish Rothwell, Pet Depot. In support, Michael Older for opposed, Margaret Coleman. Margaret?
Yes, aloha. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm a medical microbiologist and risk analyst in strong support of this bill. My written testimony and slides focus on evidence from the peer-reviewed literature, including analysis of CDC data for 2005 to 2020. And if you look at the slides that I've given you, you can see the data for yourself. But I'm going to summarize in 6 points. 1, neither pasteurized nor raw milk is risk-free. There were more than 2,000 pasteurized milk illnesses in this period. Two, the CDC data do not support increasing raw milk illnesses with increasing access. And you can see charts and statistics of these data, including studies from New York and California. Three, the FDA and FSIS both found that both pasteurized and raw milk were high risk for listeriosis, and two subsequent peer-reviewed studies document pro-pasteurization bias. I skipped number 4. Number 5, pasteurized milk was associated with significantly higher risks of severe listeriosis and death than raw milk in a recent systematic review for North America. Number 6, 2 peer-reviewed studies mapped extensive benefits and some evidence of risks for both pasteurized and raw milks from humans and cows. In summary, no scientific evidence supports the claim that raw milk produced for direct human consumption in the 21st century is inherently dangerous. Please pass this bill and permit consumers to choose real milk, fresh and unprocessed, complete with its natural beneficial microbiota illustrated in my supplemental slides. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Following are all in support: B.A. McClintock, Nancy Redfeather, Kalapua, Cheryl Riley, Julie Toulon, Jacqueline Ambrose, Andrea. On Zoom, is Andrea here?
Yes, I'm here. Hello. Hi, thank you for letting me talk, and I support this bill. I'm a member of Weston A. Price, and I just wanted to say, like, I grew up on raw milk in Mexico. I never got sick. All my 5 siblings, we all are like healthy kids. However, when I came to the States, I got sick thanks to pasteurized milk. I stopped drinking it. Any pasteurized milk that I drank, I was just like really sick to my stomach. So I just changed to what I knew best, that it was raw milk. Thank you to the Department of Health for all the work they do, but I think I know better what is like for my body, for my health. And I want to be able to get raw milk from my farmer. I don't want to get like pasteurized milk from the store. There is many indigenous people here, especially from Mexico, which we grew up on raw milk, and we want to be able to get it from our farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Next, Hubert Karaman on Zoom.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm a large animal veterinarian since 1995 who's specialized in dairy animals, having been a solo practitioner for about 100 certified organic dairy herds in Pennsylvania, and now as a dairy farm owner in North Carolina with 75 jerseys. I'm a Farm Bureau member of the American Association of Bovine Practitioners, and member of the AVMA, and charter fellow of the American College of Veterinary Botanical Medicine. As a veterinarian, I'll keep my comments primarily geared to the pet milk aspect of the bill. It's not rocket science to say that raw unpasteurized milk is basic to mammalian biology. All mammals drink unpasteurized milk when young and suckling the mother. Its constituents are easily recognized by the digestive tract, whereas pasteurized milk proteins become denatured and appear foreign to the digestive tract, causing intestinal upset. Cats and dogs fed raw milk do not get diarrhea like those same animals that drink pasteurized milk when consuming equal amounts of milk. Pocket pets like hamsters, gerbils, mice, and rats have rougher hair coats when fed pasteurized milk because the vitamin B6 is denatured. Goat milk is an excellent
Hubert, your
source.
time is up. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Next is Grant Jerish on Zoom. Grant? Your mute is on. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm Grant Garish, retired biologist from the University of Hawaii at Hilo, but a full-time farmer. I've been a farmer all my life, and I'm calling in support of this bill. I have submitted more detailed testimony. What this bill will not do and what it will do, I want to talk about. What it will not do is threaten public health, because the bill contains measures to avoid that. It does require some testing, which will be helpful, but most importantly, it limits the herd size to 10 or fewer animals. Small home dairy is nothing at all like industrial milk production. When I talk about a home dairy, I'm talking about a person, or more likely a family, that has a few milk cows. They feed themselves, and they will have some milk surplus. They will be drinking the exact same milk that they are selling to their customers if this were legal. In a worst case scenario from a small herd, a few people will be ill, but that's not the most important thing. Also, very importantly, this bill requires face-to-face direct exchange between the farmer and the customer. And this builds trust between people. It builds connections. You're going to be sitting there looking at the person you're selling milk to. They're looking at you. They make the decision. They have the freedom to choose the food they want. They have the responsibility. The farmer has responsibility to them. But the most important thing this will do is it's going to build strong farm communities, grassroots networks. It won't be large at first because of course it's small, but we're going to have connections between neighborhoods, people who will exchange food that they produce. Hawaii talks about the importance of food resilience and food sustainability, and it gives small grants to gardeners and small producers. This is another thing. It will allow young people who want to farm, who want to stay on the land, to work the land and care about the aina, that which feeds them, to be able to have an income stream, because milk is a high value protein food. Growing vegetables, hard work. To try to support yourself. There are people here who have small
Grant, your
acres,
time is up. Thank you very much, Grant. Thank you.
and they will be able to perhaps
Hattie Jerish is next, please.
Hattie Garish.
Aloha, can you see me?
No.
I did try turning on my video. I don't know why it's not working. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you for the hearing. I'm a Big Island small farmer and I'm testifying live for the first time because this issue is so important to me. I strongly support direct farm to consumer sales of raw milk. I would also support herd share. I'll focus on 2 points: public health and differences in milk quality related to production. The DOH says raw milk poses a risk to public health. Their rep imagines a sick child going to school and sickening the other children. I looked at the CDC website and verified that the same pathogens that could get into raw milk and make you sick are the same ones that are already causing other foodborne illnesses. Pathogens like salmonella and E. coli that you will recognize on the news, because every year a huge range of foods gets contaminated and causes some illness. None of these pathogens spread easily person to person. So one sick child is unlikely to make other children sick. If the common foodborne pathogens were likely to shut down schools, it would already be happening. Meanwhile, this legislature does not propose to ban other foods that have made people sick. Nor does this legislature ban the buying and selling of alcohol or tobacco and vape products, even though everyone knows these products are dangerous to the health of the user and can harm the health of people around them. In other words, alcohol misuse and smoking are public health threats. I've been milking cows and drinking fresh milk my whole life. Nobody in my family has gotten sick from this milk, but I did get sick from cut melon one time. The DOH rep said in a past hearing that a doctor would never tell you it was okay to give your child raw milk. But that is exactly what my family's doctor did when I was a little girl, and I had a bad reaction to pasteurized milk in the store. Raw milk can pass food safety tests. There's no reason to ban sales. You may be wondering why raw milk supporters and opponents have such different narratives. I think it's because not all milk is the same, but the DOH and CDC don't take that into account. Whether raw or pasteurized, the quality depends on the diet and health of the cows, the size of the dairy, and other factors like handling after leaving the dairy. Large dairies with thousands of cows in confinement are very dirty, and I would never drink raw milk from such a dairy. In fact, the only 2 people to have died from drinking raw milk in the past 16 years both got sick in a large conventional.
Thank you, Hattie. Your time is up. Thank you, Hattie. Next is Sharon Garish.
Where big dairies are allowed, keeping it small.
Sharon? Unmute, Sharon.
Oh,
There you go.
Are you there? I mean,
Yes.
You got me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all for allowing this bill to come forward. I also hope you come to this hearing with an open mind and give some hope to small farmers who are looking for ways to increase agricultural productivity and food sustainability. It is hard but fulfilling work, especially when you can feel you've made a difference. I worked at a commercial dairy here on the Big Island and saw firsthand why you had to pasteurize. But still, pasteurizing mass-produced milk done quickly is still like cooking the bacteria, because despite inline filters and automatic milking machines, and a lot of bacteria gets into the system. But then from milking there, I would go home and to my own 2 cows who had names, came when called, loved brushing, and only ate grass and pasture and alfalfa. They never had mastitis, and I watched over their health, vaccinated them, and gave them 3-month rest from milking every year to prepare for their new calf. I was lucky to have my mom, who came from a small family dairy, to guide me. My milk tasted delicious, and a part of that was it was fresh, milked in the morning, and you could drink it then warm or cold in the evening. The milk at the dairy was picked up every 3 days from the bulk tank, where it went to Hilo to be pasteurized and homogenized and put in boxes or gallon plastic containers. Knowing other dairy people, I believe this is a standard commercial practice. Peter Oshiro testified there was no raw milk illness in this state because it is illegal. However, plenty of people here on our island do drink milk from their own cows. We train and sell cows to people who want to do this. For self-sufficiency, a cow provides milk, yogurt, kefir, butter, cottage cheese, and hard cheese like cheddar. Bull calves can grow up to be supplying meat. What a savings for the family. If milk sales were legal, the benefits would be enormous and provide profit for the farm. I think the state would greatly benefit from small dairies spread out in rural communities. I support the House bill, which contains amendments that offer restrictions and rules meant to safeguard the customer who goes to the family farm. This includes milk testing. We have tested our milk at UH
Sharon,
Hilo.
your time
and
is
my
up.
husband
Thank you
bought
very
it.
much.
It exceeded
Appreciate
grade A milk and was much
Next
better.
is Kaiulani Bowers in support, Sarah Resor in support, Ashley McGuire in support, Makana L in support. All the following are also in support: Wayala An, Lana Mitsumura, Lauren Marumoto, Dacia Tabukunda, Natalie Forster, Alexa Helge, Ramona Hussey, Aaron Mersch, Joy Detling, Glenn Kagabita, Cadence Feely, Maya, Glenn Oshiro, Robert Culbertson, Jonathan Dorkin, and is Esther Arkfeld here? Esther? Also in support. Anyone else?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, where? Okay, go ahead, Esther.
Okay, thank you so much for allowing me to testify. I would like to ask you to support this bill. I own and operate a small raw dairy in the state of Iowa, and I am certified with the Raw Milk Institute. Until last year, the distribution of raw milk was considered illegal in our state. We worked 17 long years to change the law in our state. Last year, we finally passed the law that would allow farm to direct consumer sales. Since then, things have gone really well here. Our bill language is very similar to the bill proposed here. This includes safety measures such as bacteria testing of the milk and health testing of the animals. I would just like to mention raw dairying is not some dirty, unsafe practice anymore. While this may have been true back in the 18th and 19th century, this isn't necessarily the case in our 21st century. Just like commercial dairying has progressed in leaps and bounds, so has the practice of raw dairying. People who choose raw dairy are not ignorant or uneducated. Most people who choose raw dairy have done a significant amount of research. When they choose to make a separate trip to a farmer, they do this for a good reason. I would like to share some statistics. As mentioned previously, 46 of the 50 states within our great country allow access to raw milk one way or another. All top 10 dairy states allow access to raw milk. 5 of them allow raw milk to be sold in retail stores. 3 allow it as on-farm sales, 1 through herd shares, and 1 by incidental sales. By allowing the sale of raw milk for its citizens, Hawaii won't be forging the way for some fringe movement. Rather, it will be joining the rest of the 46 other states who already allow access to raw milk. It will also allow its citizens the right to consumer choice, and by doing so, it will support its local small family farms who so desperately need local support. Thank you for your time, and please consider supporting this bill.
Thank you, Esther. Okay, anyone else wishing to testify on HB 1989? Members, any questions?
Okay, I got one question.
Senator
For,
Richards?
I think this would be for either DOH or DOA.
I'll defer to DOH. No. Both come up.
We've heard about certification, all that. Testing requirements for dairies today in our state are what?
Only pasteurized milk plants are being tested right now, and the dairy farms are tested at the farm. So I'm pretty sure they're being tested monthly. So this is a real good question that you pose, because the amount of resources it's going to take to test raw milk and create new raw milk standards and to get raw milk analysts certified in the state, I don't think you have any close to economies of scale. And testing of raw milk absolutely does not ensure safety at all. They are not testing for pathogens. So if you're not testing for pathogens, there's no way you can ensure that raw milk is safe. Only pasteurization can kill pathogens.
Okay. I know we test bulk tanks.
Yes.
Are you, and this also POA, Dexter, of programs in other states where we have sale of raw milk, or I should say access to raw milk? I would have to venture that the testing requirements are substantially higher, but I'm looking into that right now. Do you have any comments on that?
No, they're not higher, because raw milk at a grade A dairy farm that's going to be pasteurized is already held to a very, very high standard. So that raw milk standard for a grade A pasteurized dairy is much higher. I mean, and this is with the fact that the milk is going to be removed of all pathogens by being pasteurized. So that's how dangerous it is. And that's how much redundancy you need in the program to ensure that milk is safe.
Okay. To stand up a program like we were just talking about for testing, what are you thinking? A couple more people?
You know, right now our dairy industry is in reverse, and we're actually scaling back. We don't have any more quote unquote state ratings officers on the island because it's counterproductive to keep someone trained when I only have one dairy and one farm on the Big Island. So right now we bring in people from the mainland called ratings officers that are certified to actually do what they call the actual getting off the ground and FDA approvals. So again, I have not calculated the cost, and it's going to depend on if you have 10 people, 10 families, each with one cow. Oh my God, the cost just went through the roof for a few gallons of milk. That's unsafe.
Okay, thank you.
Our testimony will be very similar. I don't have the exact dollar value.
All right, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Chair, question. So, Peter, is there
Yes, Senator.
any safe way to allow the sale of raw milk?
No, according to the then that's, you know, you hear the testimony of people. I have no stake in this except public health. My data comes from the CDC and FDA. So I'm not sure what they're preaching here. You cannot make raw milk safe in any form, and that's from the CDC. You quote Google raw milk, and that's the first statement you're going to see that the CDC cannot guarantee raw milk is safe in any shape or form, period.
So do the public health concerns outweigh the benefits of allowing the sale of the raw milk?
Oh, and not in my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, HB 2771, relating to food safety, appropriates funds for the continued administration of the Hawaii Healthy Food Incentive Program and to provide matching funds to beneficiaries who participate in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. First up is Department of Health. Department of Ag. Court. Kathy Betts from the Department of Human Services. Matthew Gonzer. Mayor Richard Bisson in support. Myung Oh, Local Food Coalition.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs. I'm Young-Oh here on behalf of the Local Food Coalition. We're in strong support of this measure. Ultimately, I think this is a great opportunity in drawing federal funds for the SNAP and the BUCS program here in Hawaii. This has been ongoing for the past couple of years. We're optimistic that this year it'll be successful, and hopefully is for the consideration of both bodies would be a recurring budget for the Department of Ag and this program. Thank you for allowing me to testify.
Thank you. Michael Munakata, Ulipono.
Thank you, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committees. Michael Munikata here on behalf of Ulupono Initiative.
I would like to stand on our testimony in strong support and just add a couple of comments. Some of the data that we have in our testimony, not sure if folks had a chance to read it. It is kind of lengthy. However, I think it's very telling of the state in which we're in. The impact to our community is clear. Last year, 160,000 Hawaii residents received SNAP assistance. On top of that, Hawaii residents have faced a 26% increase in the cost of food prices since January 2020. The need is clearly there to support our food insecure and those that need help across our state. On top of that, you look at the benefit of this program to our local farmers. This program, obviously, I think everyone's pretty well versed, but it doubles your purchasing power for local produce. So we are supporting our local farmers with this program. There is no commerce clause that we have to worry about with this program. This is a federally established program. We're looking that this program actually supports statewide about 470 farm producers and 8 distributors. It's probably much higher than that, to be quite honest. Retailers are reporting that an average of 531% increase in sales since 2019 to 2021, actually. Just want to hit real briefly on some of the Maui stats. In Maui, there are 14,540 SNAP participants and 13 The Bucks retail locations support this. Roughly 72 farmers provide this product for our needy communities on Maui Island. And food sales that have been driven by this program on Maui Island have increased from $97,000 in 2020 to almost $770,000 in 2023, a 700% increase. To be clear, that the ask is for $2 million for this program, and it's looking for recurring costs. I know it's kind of a budgetary ask, but it's great to have this measure alive and moving through as an educational opportunity. Thank you very much for your support, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Don't have time.
Yeah. So I've been informed, unfortunately, we're gonna have to defer the rest of the agenda and decision-making till Friday, March 15th in room 225 at 2 p.m. Okay? All right, folks.